chapter 9. Matthew chapter 9, verse 9. And as Jesus passed on from there, he saw a man named Matthew sitting at the tax office. And he said to him, "Follow me." So he rose and followed him. Now it happened as Jesus sat at the table in the house that behold, many tax collectors and sinners came and sat down with him and his disciples. When the Pharisees saw it, they said to his disciples, "Why does your teacher eat with tax collectors and sinners?" When Jesus heard that, he said to them, "Those who are well have no need of a physician, but those who are sick. But go and learn that this means I desire mercy and not sacrifice. For I did not come to call the righteous, but sinners to repentance." Now, who do you think God can use? Those who are educated? Those who have a religious background? Those whose family was raised in church? Those who give the most in the offering? Yes, truly he can use those people. But thank the Lord that he can use the rest of us.
Yeah.
The ones who don't fit into that category. He can use us, and he wants to use us. Matthew is not what you'd call prime suspect for the ministry. He would not be suitable, probably even in our day and time. He would not be the top 10 qualified applicants. He had not only turned his back on his own people, but he was taking money from them to give to the Roman Empire. Tax collectors were famous for not only padding the Roman pocketbook, but they were also famous for padding their own pocketbook. They were well-to-do because they took more money than what they were supposed to. Who could you complain to? Rome didn't care, as long as they were getting their money. They didn't care. They padded the books a little bit. If they fudged on the numbers a little bit, they didn't care. So who were you going to complain to? There wasn't nobody to complain to. He tells him, "Follow me." This is a call, not only for Matthew, but for us.
Yeah.
All of us. To follow him each and every day. This is not a one-time deal where you're sitting in church and all of a sudden you feel conviction and you say, "Okay, Lord, I'm going to follow you." It's an everyday choice. Every morning when you get up, you say, "I'm going to follow you, Lord. I'm going to let you lead me. I'm going to let you guide me. I'm going to let you pick the path that I need to go down." And sometimes those paths are not easy.
Yeah.
Sometimes those roads are bumpy. Sometimes when you're following God, you see great miracles.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what it would have been like to be there when Lazarus came out of the tomb? Wow. But then there are great silences from God too. When those ones who stood by the cross looked up and seen the one they loved and adored died, crucified. Sometimes when we follow God, there is blessings and full bellies and good times. Can you imagine what it'd been like to be sitting there and you know you only got 5 loaves and 2 fishes, and yet 5,000 people get fed.
Yeah.
But sometimes there's storms that come in our life. And in the midst of the storm, if we look, we'll see Jesus walking towards us. So he arose and followed him. What a statement. What a wonderful statement that is. What a proclamation. This simple act of obedience. Now look what he's given up. He just met Jesus. We don't know if he knows anything about Jesus. But he's given up a lot. He's given up a home. He's given up security. He's given up a lot of things. When Jesus tells us to follow him, what do we say? Where are we going? What are we going to be doing? How much is this going to cost?
Yeah.
We're always questioning God. He just says, follow him. He just wants obedience from us. But we want security, and we want promises, and we want all kinds of things. Oh yeah, if you give me that, I'll follow you. But here's the deal. If you don't follow him, there is no security.
Yeah.
If you don't follow him, there is no promises. You've got to follow him. It said many tax collectors and sinners came and sat down with him. Now, poor old Matthew, bless his heart. I'm sure he's doing just what he would normally do. I mean, he don't hang out with everybody else. He don't hang out with the religious. He don't hang out with other Jews. Only ones he hangs out with is these other people, these tax collectors and sinners, they call them. So he invites them. Hey, come and listen to Jesus. Come and hear what he has to say. There's something special about him. He didn't know he's not supposed to do that. He's just doing what normally comes to him. He doesn't know there's some kind of unwritten rule. He's just doing what comes natural. In our Christian walk, we should be accessible to people around us. Those that we come in contact, whether it's at work, whether it's at our kids' baseball game or football game, or if it's at the pharmacy, or at the doctor's office, or at Walmart, wherever it may be, wherever we are, we should be accessible to people. So that God can use us as a tool to bring them to him. Now, some people are going to walk away from you because you follow Jesus. You don't have to walk away from people. I promise you, if you really follow Jesus, people won't want to be around you. You make them uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But you should always leave the door open so that they can come and talk to you. Because they may not be ready when you first come into their life. They may not want to hear what you have to say about God. But here's what I've learned. Life happens. It happens to everybody. Death, sickness, financial troubles, relationship problems. And they need somebody to talk to.
Amen.
And I promise you, you've planted a seed and God will lead them either back to you or to somebody else who knows the Lord. But you got to leave that door open. They say, why does your teacher eat with the tax collectors and sinners? It's funny, isn't it? How we religious people sometimes act. That we're so high and mighty.
Yeah.
That we're so much better than everybody else. That's what they were saying. Why are you hanging out with these people? They're no good. Some people are just not going to be happy with who you associate with. But like I say, God's going to use you to help them.
Yeah.
So these naysayers, don't pay attention to them. We don't all have the same friends. And I think that's a reason. There's a reason for that. There's people in your life that I personally could never reach. They're not going to listen to me. As soon as you bring up, can I get the preacher to come over and visit with you? They're going to shut you down so fast, it's not going to make your head spin. But they're going to listen to you. They're going to watch you. That's why whenever I worked anywhere, I never told anybody I was preaching. Not that I'm ashamed of it. I'm so proud of it. But whenever you say preacher, that puts up a wall. And I found out early in my walk with Christ that if they just see me walking with the Lord, then guess what? It will draw them to Christ. I've got friends. I would love for them to walk through those doors. But I've got friends that I don't believe will ever happen. But it doesn't mean that they're not following Christ. It doesn't mean because to them, I'm the pastor. I'm the one that they call when there's a death or a sickness. Look what he says. He says, those who are well have no need of a physician, but those who are sick. That's the deal. You got to realize that you need Jesus.
Yeah.
a lot of people out there that don't realize that. Back in the 90s, I remember shaving. I was going to an association meeting in Somerville, January. And I remember shaving. I kept bleeding. I was bleeding I was bleeding under here. I was bleeding. I couldn't get it to stop. And I was taking toilet paper and, you know, how you do, and I had that stuff. It looked like I had a beard. I had so much. And I thought, well, I'm going to go ahead and go. I'm going to drive, and I have all this on my face, and when I get there, I'll pull it all off. And I know it was funny. I wished I would have recorded it because it was hilarious. That was January. In February or March, I felt like I had walking pneumonia. And Tina said, you need to go to the doctor. I was young. I didn't want to go to the doctor. Didn't like the doctor. Didn't want to deal with the doctor. So I made a deal with her. There was a Christian bookstore up in Waco, and I wanted to go to it. And I said, I'll tell you what, if you'll take me there, and then we go to the steakhouse, then we get back home, you can take me to the emergency room. So we go to the bookstore, we go order a steak, and it's a wonderful steak. It's beautiful. Oh my gosh, they cooked it so good. And I was so miserable I couldn't eat it. Yeah, I know, that's sad. It almost makes me want to cry. Thank God the steaks weren't as high as they were now. I said, Tina, you're going to have to take me. You're going to have to take me now. Sure enough, we go to the emergency room. They run tests. Well, your lungs look fine. You don't have walking pneumonia. So they did blood work. Come back and cancer. I'm telling you this story to tell you this. The bleeding was a sign of the cancer. The platelets get so low that you can't stop the bleeding. I had other symptoms too, that when I started reading about the cancer I had, man, things started to make sense. I knew there was something wrong with me, but I didn't know what. There are a lot of people walking around in our world today that know there's something wrong in their life. They know there's something that's not quite right, but they don't know what it is. And they need somebody to introduce them to the great physician. Yeah. That not only can heal the body, but can heal the soul. The Bible tells us that without Christ, we're dead in our trespasses. We're dead in our sin. In other words, we're dying each and every day without Him. Amen. And just like there's signs of a physical sickness, there's signs of a spiritual sickness. And that's what you see in our world today. You see this sickness. That's why we have to be mindful of that when we come into contact people. That we've got something wrong with them and they don't understand what it is. And Jesus is the answer. Yeah. We also have to be mindful that just like sickness ends in death, so does spiritual sickness. When you come in contact with people, you don't know if you're ever going to see them again. Doesn't matter if it's your family. Doesn't matter if it's your friends or acquaintance or somebody you meet just at a store one day. You just never know. and you have this one opportunity to share the gospel with them. I don't mean to be preachy. I'm just tell them what God's done for you. Somehow get that conversation in that way. Let God guide you. Let the Holy Spirit guide you. Because we know life is short, very short. And then look what he says. He says, I desire mercy and not sacrifice. He wants us to have the same capacity of love that he does. He wants us to love others like he does. You can't do that on your own. You can never give enough. I don't care how much you put in that offering plate back. It doesn't matter. Because we can give money without giving a heart.
Yeah.
We can come to church, we can give our time without giving a heart. We can give our talents without giving a heart. We can do a lot of things without giving a heart, but it's your heart he wants. It's your heart he desires. He wants you to have mercy and compassion and love towards those people who are lost, those people who don't know him, who maybe have backslidden from him. He wants you to have love and compassion towards them and to do whatever it takes to win them or to win them back for the glory of God. That's what he wants. But the question is, are you willing? Will you follow him? That's all he wants, for you to follow him.